And we're live. Okay. Hi. Hi everyone. Um my name is Jo Buenazedacruz. I'm an industrial designer and founder of Inclusive PH. Um Let me just tell everyone a little bit about Inclusive PH in case you haven't heard of us yet. Um okay, so Inclusive PH is um, a multidisciplinary group of professionals. Mostly, we're designers and technical professionals like architects and interior designers, engineers, devs, UX designers, and also people from the medical field like occupational therapists and people in special education. So shout out to all of the members of Inclusive PH Facebook group. And if you're not a member yet, just head on to facebook.com/inclusiveph and go to groups to join. Um, so yeah, welcome everyone. And let me introduce my co-host for today.
Hello.
Hi. So this is Michelle Chua Lagare, president and founder of QE360. Hi, Mitch.
Hi, Joe. Thank you for having me and having this call up with you guys. I hope you guys are doing well and really excited for today's joint meetup.
Thank you so much, Mitch. For those who don't know you, would you like to tell everyone more about yourself and maybe one fun fact about you?
Okay, fun fact. Michelle Lagare. So, hello everyone. I'm aside from QE360, I'm also the community founder for Q is the new QA, and also part of the core group leader for Software Testing Philippines. Hello guys, welcome. And fun fact, a lot of people don't know this. I do Bible journaling, so especially during this pandemic, it's very relaxing and allows me to meditate on the word, which is a really nice way for me to spend that some time. Thank you.
Wow, that's really cool. Nakita ko nga, may mas madami ka pang art supplies ka
Yeah,
sa
I
akin.
have some stuff here at the back. There's actually more behind me and on this side of the wall.
By the way, ako yung graduate ng fine arts pero mas legit ka na sa akin ngayon.
I just started this. I just started painting last year. Started with watercolor, so I'm a bit scared with acrylics, but I'm trying. So hopefully,
Nice. May ano ka ba, Instagram account?
I do have for the Bible journaling. It's the Mitchcraft. So instead
Wow.
of witchcraft, it's the Mitchcraft. That's why it's MC Mitchcraft. So yeah, do follow me if you like arts for non-artists or Bible journaling in general. Thank you.
Okay. Um, yeah. I think yeah, so in the Eventbrite page, I added that this podcast will be in English and Filipino.
Mm, yeah.
So
Yep. For those who are requiring English only or pure English, do let us know so that we can have job translate. Or basically we can adjust, but mainly we are going to use English and Tagalog so that it's more casual, and hopefully because of that, you guys will be more comfortable asking us questions. So we don't bite, but Maya.
yeah, why not? Kasi actually, sa, by the way, I also work as an art director in Canva, and yung work ko dun is actually has something to do with translations din. Kasi
Oh, that's nice. Yeah,
uh,
actually, I remember when it was when Canva hosted our one of our key meetups and in Canva, and it was actually Job who introduced us to accessibility testing. So really happy that today we're moving towards another level of accessibility testing. So yes, thank you
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, so yeah, if you need this to be translated, please leave a comment so we know where you're from, or please comment where you're originally from or where you're based right now. And
Or
also,
just give shout out on the Facebook comment, or if you're watching on YouTube. Actually, Johnny is live streaming us on YouTube, so do send us comments if you have other questions or feedback or something you want us to tackle as we proceed with the meetup.
yeah. I also just want to thank everyone who's here. As we wait for more people to come in, just please comment below where you're watching, um, or what you
And
would
from
like
what
to learn.
community?
Yeah,
From what community? I know that we have designers, QAs, QEs, and even friends from the PWD community. Welcome, and we hope that you learn a lot from today. Huwag kayo maiya. Hindi kami nangangagat. Mukha lang akong masungit, pero si Joe mabait yan.
ewan ko. Thank you. Yeah, so yeah, I'm very excited for this episode because our guest is an accessibility tester based here in Philippines. And also because this episode is actually a tie-up with QE is the new QA.
Yeah, maybe I should give a differentiation between the two because we have various audience right now from different communities and industries. So when we say QA, it's usually the manual tester, and then when we say QE, it's a hybrid of manual tester of and automation engineer, or manual tester and programmer. So we are actually really very excited for this. I personally, because accessibility testing hindi masyadong napag-uusapan or tinatackle when we say testing, especially when we do test planning. It's more of functionality, performance, security, but then there is this aspect of testing na rarely touched. But today we will learn a lot actually from our special guest, so that we will know so that we will know how it impacts us and how other people are perceiving the softwares that we are developing. Most of us would say na, oh, ano yan, mataas ang performance level niyan, okay yung functionality niyan. Other people would say 99% crash free yan. But what they do not know is how do other people react to this application, especially if those people are having difficulties accessing those software. So very happy that we are tackling this and really excited to proceed later on with our SME.
Yeah, I'm also very excited to learn about accessibility from the software testing side of things, because usually when I try to learn more about product accessibility and product design, it's usually um, the the for the dev side. So that would be really cool to learn. Also, when I went to your meetup, sobrang na-impress din ako kasi sobrang galing nung group. And they're very, very knowledgeable. Parang ang saya tuloy QE.
May mag-test. Go, join us. No convert pala mo.
Ano na naman ako, change career na naman ako. But, yeah. But I also want to touch on why this topic is really important. So, actually, hindi ko na-mention sa you, Mitch, but the concept kind of for this episode is parang counterparts kasi kaya ni Rhea in a way. Because you're a quality engineer. That's your background. And then si Rhea naman is an accessibility tester ng web and apps, mobile apps. So it'll be really cool to listen to your one-on-ones later. So you can learn from you can both learn from each other. Yeah. Um, so yeah. Also, I think since like you mentioned, the other the people tuning in are from Inclusive PH and from the QE is the new QA group, and then there are other designers here who are not product designers or product people, but um, what's um, what's really great about our interview later with our guest is kung ano yung insight niya. We can actually apply it to our own fields, whether you're working in digital teams or physical, or you're designing physical spaces or physical environments or products. Yung insight can be applied to whatever field you're in. And then also why this is important, actually, nung nag-start yung COVID, na, sa totoo, nag-lay low ako sa Inclusive PH kasi parang na bigla tayong lahat. Tapos parang, doctors were dying, nurses were dying. So parang I wanted to focus on work because we were doing some COVID-related campaigns in Canva. But when I was talking to Rhea, our guest, before, she mentioned nga na nihirapan yung ibang nasa PWD community because they can't access mga uh, mga apps or websites, especially now na nagma-migrate yung mga businesses to a digital platform. So we can ask Rhea about that later.
Actually, very relevant ito, no? Parang, it's not just about testing. Pero, yun nga, na-realize ko, even kami, di ba, sa household namin, parang, we're all doing things virtually, online. Kung tayo nga na, every day we use laptops or gadgets to do things, and we're supposed to be very familiar with it. How about those people na are not in the IT industry or using laptops? How about them, di ba? Lalo na yung mga people na hindi talaga yun yung nila, parang day-to-day activity nila or included yung gadget. Not, para magawa yung needs nila. It's not just about watching online or stuff, but it's really doing a lot of parang critical activities for you, like ordering and so on. So, and on the other end, parang last time when we were with you, we were tackling more on physical designs, and right now it's making me more excited kasi nga it's related talaga sa software. And parang we always say as testers, QAs or QEs, we say that we put ourselves in the shoes of the users, but really parang maybe we're just looking on the pie of users. Maybe hindi siya buo talaga. So it's really nice to have that inclusivity in mind when we do our work, not just as designers or QAs, QEs, but in general, as you've mentioned earlier. So it's really exciting. Parang Korean eh. Yeah. So hopefully, we've already established yung mga personal takes natin on why we want this topic. So let's introduce our guest, shall we?
Yes, let's go.
Go. So today our excited. So our special guest is an accessibility expert. She specializes in testing na hindi talaga natin typical na ginagawa. And she is an equal entry and my blind spot and accessibility support of Bookshare. Please do help me welcome Rhea Guntalilib. Hi, Rhea.
Hello. Hi, Mitch. Hi,
Good
Joe.
afternoon.
Hi, Rhea.
Good evening.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for indulging us. Sorry,
Na-starstruck ko si Rhea.
na-stars na. You.
Yeah, welcome, Rhea. Can you, before we start, would you like to tell everyone a little bit about yourself? Where are you working right now, and maybe one fun fact about you?
Sure. Yeah, I am totally blind, but not born blind. So I lost my sight when I was 18, and now I am currently working as a digital accessibility consultant, as mentioned in Equal Entry and in my blind spot. I also do content writing, and I'm working in a company called Benetech where we work on this project called Bookshare. It's an accessible online library for people with print impairment. So, i-discuss ko din yan later. And one fun fact about me, well, ironic as it may seem, totally blind ako, but I'm a bookworm. I love to read. As in, I love to read. I love music, and I'm a health enthusiast on the making. So, yeah.
Nice. Buti ka pa, health enthusiast. Kami parang,
Yes.
yun na lang.
Mhm.
It's really nice to hear those things. It made me just curious, no? Kasi you told us na you were not born blind, but then
Mhm.
you became blind 18 years when you were 18, no? And then
Mm.
so can you give us a background before, so 18 you were in college? Ano muna
Mhm.
yung course mo, and then how was it like? And then how did it change you
Okay.
when when it happened in being totally blind?
Yeah, I was in second year college nung nangyari to. So, I was taking up nursing. So, something very, very visual. Then, ang personality ko, I'm a very sporty na person. Sobra akong outgoing. So, parang it's someone na, if you imagine the person na ako from before, parang hindi niyo siguro iisipin na magsa-survive ako as a blind person.
Mm.
But, well, I did. Yeah. Mm.
So you said nursing, and then um, once you've mentioned to us with me and Joe na naging
Mm.
programmer ka as your first job, paano napunta from nursing to programming?
Yeah. Nung yun nga, when I lost my sight, as I said, nursing student ako. So, obviously, I can't go back to school as a nursing student. So, I stayed at home for 2 long years since hindi naman ako aware that the technology is present for the blind. Hanggang sa, I just got bored. Parang after 2 years, na-realize ko gusto ko lang matutong mag-aral at magbasa in Braille. So I went to the SPED Center here in the province, and then sakto naman during that time, the SPED teacher here told me that there was this upcoming computer training daw for the blind in Baguio. So parang ako that time, paano yun? Computer and then blind? So parang sobra akong naging interested. Although, syempre, lalo na computer user na ako even before I lost my sight. So, ginawa ko yung opportunity na to. And then, doon na nagsimula. Natuto akong gumamit ng screen reader, which, yun, i-introduce ko din sa inyo later. Hanggang sa, nag-aaral ako sa isang computer school for the blind sa Quezon City. Then I took a scholarship exam na binigay for informatics, International College. And sa awa ng Diyos, pumasa naman ako. So I took computer science. So, and then after college, oh, and
Nice. You've mentioned kanina, no, na parang nag-take ka, one, parang very encouraging for you to take. Nawala si Rhea.
yes,
Ayan. Hi, Rhea. Are you still there?
yes, I'm here.
Yun, sorry.
Hello?
Nawawala.
Yep.
Yan. TLDT, hello.
Narinig na ako?
Yeah, you're back. Ayun, I was just asking, no, parang one, congrats talaga.
Hello?
Kasi parang it's very, yes, we can hear you, Rhea. Can you hear us?
Parang ikaw ang medyo nawawala, Mitch.
No.
Hello?
How about me? Can you hear me, Rhea?
Hello? Mitch?
Yes, I'm here.
Hello? Narinig niyo
Yep.
ako?
Yep,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Yan. Can you hear me?
Oh.
Medyo struggle talaga tong internet connection natin.
Yeah. I will just message Rhea
Hello?
offline.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear. Ayan. Actually, even before this webinar, we were able to connect with Rhea.
Hello?
And then
Can you hear me?
it's just, yes, we can hear you.
I think we can just give Rhea time to read our message.
Sige. Ayan. It's amazing, no? Parang even for people with sight challenges, na as in for Rhea, it's totally blind na, no? It's really encouraging, one, that she is able to finish yung school and have a scholarship. Rhea, you're back?
Yep, I'm back.
Shout out to PLDT, please. I was just saying earlier, we were really encouraged by your story. We're encouraged by your story kasi nga parang it didn't stop you. One didn't stop you in taking in learning at the same time. It even put you where you are right now. No? Parang it's really a blessing in disguise na every time there's a challenge, you overcome those things. And siguro yung next question ko is, from programming, paano ka naman napunta sa accessibility testing?
Okay. From programming, okay, as I said, dun sa first work ko, dun pa lang naka-encounter na ako ng mga work tools na medyo nalilimitahan yung productivity ko just because those tools are not working properly with the software that I'm using, which is yung screen reader. So parang I transferred from one team to another and encountered the same problem. So it went on for like 6 to 7 years na puro parang I go by na parang puro workaround ng lahat. And then syempre, darating ka talaga sa point na you get frustrated kasi you know you could do more, pero parang nalilimitahan ka just because of this work. And then, on another aspect, since nagtatrabaho na ako noong mga panahon na yun, I'm earning my own money, I have my own bank account, na-notice ko na hindi ako makapag-withdraw mag-isa since ATMs are not accessible, yung mga online banking achuchuchu, they're not also accessible. At marami pang iba. So from there, and by that time din pala, nagsisimula na akong mag-venture into remote working. So meron akong mga ginagamit ng mga project management tools, time tracking tools, and again, it's not accessible. So parang it all stemmed from the frustration na ano ba naman to? Parang I can do better. Ano kayang pwede kong gawin para naman ma-eliminate tong mga accessibility barriers na to? So, I explored the world of digital accessibility. I went to LinkedIn. Sa LinkedIn talaga ako pumagilap ng mga tao in the digital accessibility industry hanggang sa meron akong mga nahanap. And yeah, that's the time na nag-open ang doors ng global digital accessibility world.
Mga anong year to? Nag-start, sabi mo, may
around 2016 officially yung
nice.
nasa accessibility na ako dati.
nauna ka pa sa amin kasi ngayon parang ngayon lang naging uso yung remote work. So 2016, 4 years ago, nag-remote work ka na. Nice.
Yeah.
It's really nice, no? Although very ironic, you've mentioned earlier, yung work tools, yung work accessibility tools, yung pa yung nag-hinder actually sa'yo, no? Na maka-work talaga.
Correct.
So, it's really, it just goes to show na how important to consider yung accessibility when we do anything like product or software. Sige.
Yeah.
I'm actually curious na mention mo kanina yung screen reader. Can we have a demo of that, please? Para makita rin ng iba how it's done.
Yeah, we have a demo here that Rhea prepared for us. Rhea, can you give us a little bit of a background of what we'll see in this demo?
Okay, so what you're gonna see now is called the screen reader, as mentioned. So it's a software for the blind. So it is a text-to-speech application. Basically, it converts all the textual elements that you see in the screen into audio outputs. So it literally makes my computer and my smartphone talk. So, itong ipapakita namin sa inyo, although there are a lot of different screen readers out there, the one that we're going to show you now is called JAWS, or Job Access with Speech.
Okay, I'll play the video and just comment comment if you can't hear the audio. I hope this works.
Okay. Say I want to open an application or a program in my computer using JAWS. So how would I do that? There are actually several different ways, and one way to do that is to go to the desktop environment by pressing Windows key plus letter D. Then I could simply use the arrow keys to move around each icon, or I could simply press the first letter of the program that I want to access. Then press the enter key to activate the program. I could also open an application via the start menu, or for this one, let's try to open a Word document using the run dialog box. So let's press Windows key plus letter R. Then let's type WinWord. Then let's press the enter key. Maybe at this point, you're wondering, paano niya naiintindihan? The speed is too fast, the voice is too robotic. Well, this is something that I use every day. So this is something that you could get used to. But just to mention, JAWS is highly customizable. You could adjust the speed, the volume, the pitch, and there are a lot of modifications that you could do with JAWS. So let's try to type a sentence. Notice how the pitch changes when I type something in the uppercase. So basically, that's how I'm able to identify if the letter is in upper or in lowercase. Now, let's try to read the sentence, but first let me adjust the speed so you guys could understand.
Slower. The quick round fox jumps over the lazy dog.
I could also read it by character.
T-H-E space Q-U-I-C-A space E.
Or I could also read it by word.
Quick round fox jumps over.
And of course, I could also edit and format my documents using JAWS. So let's try to select everything.
Selected.
And say for instance, we want to format the font or change the font. So let's try to activate the font dialog box.
Control D. Font dialog. Font tab. Font italic bold.
Select the changes that you want to apply.
Size 12, 14, 16, tab. Font color.
And then press the enter key to activate the changes.
To activate, press space bar. Font color left arrow on the left shift tab. Size bold and edit font. Print view edit.
And to check if the changes applied, I'm going to use a JAWS command.
Bolded 16 points. Black on white.
So it said bolded 16 points. So now let's move to web browsing. Let's go back to the web browser that I opened a while ago. When it comes to browsing the web, well, it's a little different. We have what we call navigational keys that we use in order to access different web elements. Say, for example, I could press letter E to move from one form field to the other, or I could press letter B to move from one button to the other. So it said Google search button, I'm feeling lucky button, or I could press letter H to move from one heading to the other. So there are a lot more navigational keys that we can use in order to browse the web. So let's try to search about accessibility. I press letter E and now I press the space bar in order to activate the form. So I could type
Enter. Accessibility National Search. Search engine contains text. Yes button. Page has more regions. 17 edits with formats. Accessibility National Search. Google Maps button commands. 0 notifications button menu commands. Google Maps full rate on tablet. Better rates and be accessible.com like better button. Heading level 2 like using Google search settings to always search with Google. Go next button. Yes button. Heading level 1 link back to Google search button. Search accessibility and navigation. Need all images with music videos with before button menu search button menu floor button navigation.
So at this point, I'm sure you notice JAWS is so talkative. So JAWS behaves this way. It reads everything that is found on the topmost part of the page, and it won't stop reading until the very last content or element that it finds in the bottom part of the page. So what I did, I pressed the control key so that JAWS would pause or JAWS would stop reading the entire page. So since I'm aware that the search results are in headings, I can simply press the letter H. And to activate or open a particular result, I could just press the enter key. So now it is also through JAWS that I could send, receive, or read emails. So let's try to open one of my work emails. So as I said, I'm using different navigational keys in order to access contents. So basically, this is how I open emails, this is how I read, this is how I reply, but I would no longer demonstrate that. And yeah, actually, same principle applies when I am accessing several different social media platforms such as Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and so on and so forth. So basically, that's it.
Oh, thank you for that demo. Medyo napansin ko lang, parang, syempre, di ba, the JAWS is a software built by a company, but then other companies may not necessarily know na merong JAWS or, I mean, parang, what do you think, have you encountered applications na nahirapan even yung JAWS to read? Rhea? Please.
I think baka mag-load ulit. Ayan.
Ayan.
Hi.
Hi, Rhea.
Hello. Yeah.
Yon. My question was, did you encounter any application na difficult for JAWS to read or kumbaga hindi compatible with JAWS?
Sobrang madami. One of
Mm.
talagang mga challenges sa amin ngayon, mga PDF files, kapag hindi siya created with accessibility in mind or hindi ginawa yung PDF file na accessible, there's no way na mababasa namin siya. Yeah.
May question ako about that, Rhea. Kasi when businesses try to upload their mga forms, PDF forms or PDF documents sa website nila, yun nga, madaming accessibility issues yung PDFs depended in how it's exported and everything. Pero what do you think of, what if ang i-upload na lang ng businesses are Word documents or Google Docs? Mas accessible ba yun?
Siguro Google Docs is better kasi as of now, nababasa siya ng maayos ng mga iba't ibang screen readers na ginagamit namin. Pero going back sa PDF, yun nga since na-mention mo, merong mga exporting issues sa mga browsers, right? Pero meron namang paraan na pwedeng gawin doon for as long as yung PDF file na i-upload, bago mo pa siya i-upload, is gagawin mo na siyang accessible by default. So, ganun.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Actually, it's a completely different subject matter. Pero na mga ginagawa ngayon na PDF remediation ang tinatawag sa kanila. So, ito, ganito na lang. Ang pinakasimple sa pagkakaintindi ko, ang ginagawa nila, they edit a document or they write a document. Ang gamit muna nila is Microsoft Word. So, yung Microsoft Word, lalagyan nila ng mga headings. So, properly tag siya ng mga headings, bullets, and lahat to make it accessible and readable. At saka nila i-convert into PDF format. That way kasi, for some reason, mas nagiging accessible sa PDF. Kasi di ba madalas ang problem pa natin with PDF, minsan may mga pinipicturehan tayo ng mga text, tapos place it as image. So, hindi siya mababasa ng screen reader if you do it that way.
That's interesting. Tatry ko nga yun. Experiment ko siya.
Yeah.
I actually did not expect na yung when we use Google Docs, it already makes it accessible. So thank you for sharing that. We can consider that.
Because Google is an advocate then for accessibility, kaya most of their products talaga are very accessible.
That's really good to hear.
Yeah.
Talking about speaking of good designs, actually, maybe we can talk a little bit about some good designs and bad designs. This is something that I want to ask all of the guests in future episodes as well. So for you, Rhea, since you're totally blind, can you maybe share some examples of good designs and also some bad designs, just so that everyone who's tuning in can kind of get a glimpse of your day-to-day life, how you interact with digital and physical products and environments.
Sure. So, digital and physical, right? So, siguro start tayo with the digital products muna. So, sa mga websites, one of the, kumbaga para sa akin, isa sa mga pinaka-importanteng, I guess, element for me when it comes to web browsing is yung mga forms. Kasi itong mga forms na to, they are the ones who make the websites dynamic. Nakakapag-interact tayo sa website through forms. So one very good design for me is when the form is not, hindi siya reliant from sensory characteristics like colors and shapes. Say, for example, yung mga required fields, instead of simply marking them red, you would add an asterisk. Or iwasan nyo yung press the green button to continue. So, ako na totally blind, so how would I know which among the buttons is green, di ba? So, parang ganon. Or press the triangle shape, something. Basta yung mga ganon. So, good design is if hindi siya color dependent. And then, the forms, meron silang proper labels. If this particular form field needs a particular input, for example, name, dapat malinaw na name pala ang kailangan kong i-input dito. Halimbawa naman, date ang kailangan kong i-input. It's important na ilalagay ninyo kung ano bang valid date format ang kailangan nyong makita. So, and in terms of handling error, one very, very good design is, syempre, kapag ka merong error, magiging very specific what the error is. Yung malalaman ko agad na, okay, dito ka sa field na to nagkaroon ng problema. At malinaw sa akin kung ano yung error. Kasi sometimes, na-encounter ko yun eh. Like, pagsasubmit na ako ng form,
Yan, di na-submit yung form. Very, insightful dun pala sa mga sinishare ni Rhea na yun nga, one, don't make it visual as in, don't put instructions na click on this red button or green button or even yung very common sa atin pag required, make it red or lagyan ng, parang pag nag-prompt ka, pag mali yung or invalid yung field or field na yun. Ayan, hi Rhea.
Hi.
I was just recapping what we've shared so far. Sige, you can continue. You were saying about bad designs earlier.
Yeah. Siguro isa pa pala, isang major pa na important for us, example of good and bad design, is yung mga pag-e-expire ng mga sessions in web browsing. Yung bang, especially when you're filling out forms. Kunwari, in 2 minutes pala, magko-close na yung session, then wala man lang prior warning na ibibigay. So, very, very, isang example yun of a very bad design. So, dapat, ang good design for that is pag-present ka ng alert na, okay, in 2 minutes, mag-close ng session, do you want to end or to continue? So, gano'n. Okay, so when it comes naman sa physical designs, ang dito sa Pilipinas, ang isa siguro sa masasabi kong product is yung ATM machines. So, itong mga ATM machines na to, meron lang available na merong mga audio output, but still, yung audio output na yun, hindi siya enough for us na makapag-withdraw mag-isa gamit ang ATM machine. So, as of now, sadly, wala pa talagang accessible na ATM machines dito sa Philippines, as far as I know. And then, good physical design naman is, yung isang experience ko sa isang elevator sa isang hospital somewhere in the south, na brailled yung mga pindutan. Tapos, meron din siyang audio output, and the audio output, sinasabi niya kung nasang floor ka na. So, yun ang perfect example ng accessible design.
Actually, I can relate dun sa mga forms, di ba? When you fill it up, especially pag mahaba, usually government forms, mahaba.
Yes.
Tapos, frustrating kapag nandun ka na, nag-submit ka na, nag-expire, di ba? So, sobrang sayang sa effort, especially for those na are taking extra effort para lang makapag-fill up. And then, siguro, yung sinabi ni Rhea, yung tungkol sa ATM, since right now we're already having yung mga touchscreens na machines, di ba may mga buttons sa left and right ng machine. I'm hoping na they can also use that for types of transactions para mas madaling mapuntahan, less yung pindot-pindot. So, we're really happy to hear this good and bad examples, Rhea. I hope our designers... Yes, sorry.
And just add lang pala, speaking of touchscreen, since you mentioned that, kami pala, mga totally blind, majority of us, ang mga phone namin ay mga smartphones na touchscreen. So, it's very possible na makagamit kami ng touchscreen. So, yun.
Ang hirap na. So, paano yun? Paano mo ginagamit yung phone mo?
Meron din mga gestures na ginagamit, more on clicking. Tapos, syempre, kakabisaduhin ko yung layout ng phone ko.
Okay.
Para-paraan.
Creative, yes. Agree. Ayan. Sige. Meron ka pang question sa design, Job?
Yeah, curious lang ako, Rhea. Since you mentioned ATM, pwede ko ba tanungin if you have bank accounts, how does that go? Paano nag-open ng bank account
Mm.
isang customer na blind.
Okay. Thanks so much, Job, for bringing that up. Kasi isa yan sa mga major dilemma talaga ng mga blind persons dito sa Philippines. Kasi, sa maniwala kayo at sa hindi, even if you're nasa tamang edad ka na, kahit pa nga may trabaho ka na minsan pahirapan na mag-open ng bank account. Kasi, ang sabi nila, baka daw maloko kami kung magpapa-withdraw kami since hindi nga kami makakapag-withdraw na kami lang. Pero ang question ko nga doon, paano kami makaka-withdraw kung yung mga means of withdrawing ay hindi naman inclusive? So, yeah, to answer your question, so hindi lahat ng blind persons dito sa Philippines ganon kadali na nakakapag-open ng sarili nilang bank account.
That's so true. Job, nakamute ka.
Sorry. So parang ano siya, para siyang, correct me if I'm wrong, Rhea, para siyang design problem. Also, parang operations problem siya.
Pwede natin i-consider na design problem yun Kasi if the ATM machine or the means of withdrawing is the problem, then if mapaparaanan yung ATM machines at makakapag-withdraw kami, then walang reason na sasabihin sa amin na hindi kami pwedeng mag-open ng bank account since hindi kami makakapag-withdraw ng isa. So, parang snowball effect lang siya
Yeah. Baka may nanonood from the banking industry. Baka gusto niya mag-collaborate with Inclusive PH and with Rhea.
Yeah,
to improve.
Yes,
Thank you so much, Rhea, for sharing those examples of good designs and bad designs. But now, actually, I'll give the floor to Mitch. Mitch, you can tackle the most pertinent issues in the software testing industry and in accessibility testing with Rhea. You can have a one-on-one, and I'll just I think I'll remove myself for a little while to screen. But for everyone else, this would be a good time to comment your questions below for the Q&A or get your questions ready for the Q&A. I'll give the floor to you, Mitch and Rhea. See you in a bit.
Okay. Thank you, Job. Yeah, so actually yung first question ko sana na parang what happens when accessibility testing is not really considered. Medyo na-touch mo na siya by showing examples ano yung mga challenges mo. Siguro yung first question ko would be, since accessibility testing is not normally included in the SDLC or typically sa amin, parang hindi siya talaga nabibigyan ng time. When do you think is the best time for us within the software development lifecycle? When is the best time for it to be incorporated?
Just like any other project, siguro, the best time to incorporate accessibility is right from the very beginning. So from the design, from the planning stages pa lang, from the research stages pa lang, better kung doon pa lang, i-inject or i-incorporate na ang mga accessibility features. Because let me just say, accessibility, we have this notion kasi na, okay, this is for the testing part lang kasi you'll test the product if it's accessible or not. Just to correct that wrong notion, accessibility is not a bug to be tested and to be corrected. Hindi lang siya add-on. So it's a part, kumbaga, kasama siya ng complete package.
Yeah. Parang part talaga na for you to say it's of high quality, right?
Yes.
And yun nga, siguro parang katulad ng quality engineering, same with accessibility, na incorporated siya within the entire software development lifecycle.
Yes.
It's really not just making it fast, but also yung pagiging costly. Kasi sometimes ginawa mo na, kunyari yung ATM, dinevelop nila, tapos bigla nilang naisip, ay, kailangan pala nating lagyan ng para maging
Yes.
accessible. Then, babaguhin nila yung entire machine. And
Yes. Speaking of, actually, it becomes cheaper eh. Kasi minsan iniisip nila, so dadagdag ka ng accessibility, so added cost yan. When in truth, it becomes cheaper. Kasi katulad nga ng sinabi mo sa ATM machine, kung right from the start, dinesign na siya na inclusive, so wala nang mga, hindi mo na kailangan magdagdag ng add-on na audio or ng kung ano-ano pa.
Yeah.
Natapos na yung product eh. So, parang for me, lesser yung magiging expenses.
Eto, speaking of ATM, we have phone-in question from YouTube. Thanks, Johnny. It says here, is it possible to have ATMs in Braille?
Yes, of course. Yung Braille kasi, sa ngayon since we are in a highly technological era, I guess yung role ng Braille in ATM machines is yung keys na lang itself eh. So, dun mo pwedeng ilagay yung mga Braille dots para makapa namin. But, I'm not saying na, of course, Braille is still very important, ginagamit pa rin yan. Pero, katulad yun, just like any typical sighted person ngayon, parang unti-unti nang nagma-migrate din ang mga blind person into technology. So, maliban sa paggamit ng Braille, mas madami na sa amin na ang ginagamit talaga namin in our daily lives is technology na. So,
like the screen reader.
Yeah. Yes.
Actually, nung sinasabi niya dito ni Karina May about Braille, I was actually thinking na even for deaf mute, diba, they can have other means din. Have you ever seen, can you cite examples of products or systems na also works for those, for the deaf mute in the PW community?
Kunwari sa mga videos, mga media contents natin, mga audio video, or video na lang in particular. Syempre, kapag sa panonood ng video, most likely, ang magkakaroon ng dilemma dyan is the blind people and the deaf. Kasi kami, hindi namin nakikita, sila, hindi nila naririnig. So, what do you think is the accessibility solution? So, dyan ngayon papasok si caption or si transcript. So, if the video has a transcript attached to it, so kahit pa blind or deaf yung manonood ng video, ma-absorb namin yung content. And in addition kaya this is why accessibility is not just for persons with disabilities. Sa scenario na yan na minention ko, magagamit din ninyo yan yung people without disability. Sa mga instances, for example, nasa labas kayo, maingay, matao, or you're in a place na mahina ang internet connection. So if there is this text alternative, which is the transcript, kahit hindi nyo nakikita or hindi nyo ma-play yung video right at that moment, malalaman nyo what the video is all about. So parang maraming ganyan when it comes to accessibility, na the benefit goes beyond the sector. So nakikinabang actually ang lahat.
Actually, I think it was Job who first introduced me to that, wherein in a Netflix video, parang merong narrator na dinidescribe niya talaga what's happening. It made it more sensible for those na, those who cannot hear it.
That's we call that audio description.
Yep. So, there's another question from Karina. It's she says, helpful po ba ang mga Google Assist, yung mga Google Assist? Have you tried that, Rhea?
Google Assist, what in particular? Like yung mga voices, like
yung mga Bixby or siguro sa iPhone sila, Siri.
Helpful din siya talaga. Mostly yung mga voice assistant namin mga ganyan, karamihan din sa mga kilala ko, mas ginagamit namin yan sa mga phone namin kaysa sa computer.
Okay. Kasi nga, di ba, sa mga phones pa lang, even for Android, they already have an assigned button for Bixby, and it really just makes it easier. And even for iPhone, di ba? Okay, sige. Another question is, can you cite a product without naming the product itself that you've tried to use before and that you can say that it's not user-friendly for people with a disability? And why do you think what made it difficult?
Um, Not for persons with, hindi. I think for everyone naman. Sige. Since it's relevant sa tingin ko, ang babanggitin ko na lang sa ngayon is yung mga work tools. Work tools like, one particular example is yung mga time tracking tools na ginagamit natin ngayon. Ngayon, we are in the middle of a pandemic. Everything is transported to the virtual world, including yung employment scene. Diba? So, sobrang mahalaga. Isang vital tool yan for us ngayon. Kailangan ng mga time trackers kasi that's where you're gonna log your work hours. Diyan ka din mamamonitor ng boss mo. So, minsan, kapag, ayun, yan ang na-encounter ko lately na sobrang nagiging problem ko. Even before, hindi talaga siya ganun ka-accessible for me.
So what do you do now na hindi siya accessible for you?
I'm just blessed and so lucky na I work in a company right now na very, very strong ang culture of inclusion talaga sa kanila. So, hindi, what we do right now, since nagigets naman nila kung ano talaga yung struggle ko, so, naglalag ako ng time ko sa Excel na lang, and then, anyone na available na teammate, tutulungan niya na lang ako na i-plot yun dun sa time tracking tool na ginagamit namin. So, medyo inconvenient siya in a sense, kasi kung tutuusin, less hassle na sana yun sa mga teammates ko But if only the tool itself is accessible to begin with.
Yun nga, ironic na parang accessibility work tool, di ba? Parang, and yet, hindi siya, what you call this, productive for you, for other people with disability na parang it's becoming more of a burden than a work tool. Yeah. And then, for us, when we test, syempre, I want to ask kasi, how long does it take you to test, say, a web page or a website? Kasi sa amin, di ba, parang for regular testing, it's more of, parang, it depends on the size and complexity. Does it differ for accessibility testing?
No, it's actually the same. Depende sa size, complexity, and sa scope ng project. And then, based on my observation, sa experience ko, what differs is kung papaano na-build yung isang, kunwari, yung isang website. Example, meron akong tinetest na super laking website, pero na-create na siya right from the start na meron na siyang mga accessibility features. Like, they just want an actual person with disability to verify or to check kung accessible na siya. Sobrang di hamak na mas mabilis i-test yun versus a one single page na develop ng wala man lang any accessibility feature. So, it depends.
So, same lang din sa amin. Ganun din, di ba? Parang, if parang hindi consider yung quality, parang hindi tinest, walang man lang unit testing, ganun din. Buggy pa din. So, yeah. And then, since hindi talaga typical for typical software development, yung magkaroon ng accessibility testing as part of the SDLC, how do you convince management? Hopefully, there are managers here and product developers. How can we convince them to include this?
Okay. Importante to I think magsisimula to sa sa pag-shift ng mindset. Kasi 'di ba dito sa atin sa Pilipinas, let's admit it. When you hear programs or anything related to persons with disabilities, ano ba ang unang papasok sa isip nating lahat? Sa mga companies, usually it's for CSR, usually it's for charity. Parang laging ganun Ngayon, siguro it's about time na i-shift natin na ang persons with disabilities, hindi lang yan charity. They are actual clients. They are actual customers. So if you don't develop for this group of people, chances are, mababawasan ang mga clients mo, ang mga customers mo. Then, ngayon if you want to go to the global scene, outside our borders kasi it's very, very strict na when it comes to accessibility. So kung tipong gusto mo mag-upscale ng mga projects, gusto mong mag-step up to the international scene, I'm telling you, mahihirapan ka kung hindi ka mag-i-inject ng accessibility features in mind. So magandang bargain factor yun sa management. At pangalawa, very, very, very basic lang. It's a basic, very basic human right nating lahat eh. The right to accessible information. So, lahat tayo, nasa Philippine Constitution yata yan, kung hindi ako nagkakamali. The right to information. So, hindi naman sinabi na just because you're someone with a disability, wala ka ng karapatan na ma-access tong product na to, tong service na to, or tong information na to. And then, try to go back to your core. Why do you develop these products and services at the very first place? Diba? We aim to provide better experiences, more convenience, kumbaga. So, why not consider, kumbaga, why just focus dun sa group of people na their lives are convenient na to begin with? So, hindi ba parang mas maganda na i-consider natin yung mga taong medyo nasa mas inconvenient and limited na sitwasyon? So, yeah, I guess, yan.
Yeah. You've mentioned earlier some industries. You've specifically mentioned as well international. So can you cite a specific industry na talagang they are taking into consideration yung accessibility?
Airline. Mga airline industries natin ngayon. Ewan ko kung okay lang nabanggitin. We have one here in the Philippines na ironic kasi doon sa work ko doon sa US, isa tong company na to na naging client namin. Kasi I think early 2016, nagkaroon ng law sa US na kapag si airline, yung company na yon, hindi accessible ang online booking system nila or mga ticket purchasing, hindi sila i-allow na magbiyahe sa US. So, wala silang choice. Yeah.
They're not actually just thinking of their own business, no? But they're actually making it inclusive, really. And enforcing it so that everyone can be part of that inclusivity mindset. Yep. So, may other question tayo from Facebook. It says here from Therese. What tools can you recommend to determine or assess a website or application's accessibility? For newbies like me in accessibility, I use Lighthouse from Google. Do this suffice?
Okay. Para sa akin, ang pinaka maisa-suggest ko talaga, you could start with Microsoft Accessibility Insights. So, that's a very, very good starting point para sa mga newbies, para sa mga beginners. Kasi, yun, good starting point siya. Pero I just want to mention lang din since we're talking about these tools, kasi, minsan meron kasi tayong, paano ko ba ikukwento to? Sige, I had one experience dito sa atin. Hindi ko na lang babanggitin kung anong company. We were sharing about accessibility. And then, sinabihan kami na, we're already using automated testing tools. But when we actually tested their product, hindi siya pasok. Makikita mo na merong mga accessibility features na naka-integrate naman. In fairness naman to them, there's the effort. Pero the missing piece kasi doon, iba yung i-incorporate mo din kasi yung manual testing coming from actual users, which kami nga, persons with disabilities. So, yeah.
Di pa rin talaga pwedeng palitan ng computer yung human feedback or human feel.
Yeah. Yes.
Nice. Thank you. I have another question here. Earlier, Job was asking about or tackling about COVID and its impact to us. Currently, or since it started, ilang months na rin tayo into this pandemic. What are the main challenges for people with disability caused by this pandemic?
Okay. Actually madami all aspects. Pero siguro let's start unang-una sa education sector natin. Na-delay ang mga classes natin. And so just imagine for people if people who are blind na lang na katulad ko. Kasi ang problema ngayon na virtual na ang lahat, ang tanong dyan, accessible ba itong mga online classes na ginagawa, yung mga platform na ginagamit for the online classes? Compatible ba sila dito sa screen readers namin? And most importantly, yung mga learning materials such as yung mga books natin, accessible ba sila for us? So I guess dito ngayon papasok yung na-mention nga namin kanina, di ba? I'm working in Bookshare. So ang ginagawa namin sa Bookshare, it's an international, accessible online library na sa ibang bansa, yung mga publishers doon, nagdo-donate and nagpa-publish na talaga sila ng mga books nila that were converted into accessible forms para yung mga estudyante doon, ngayon na nag-aaral sila at home, madali para sa kanila na mag-download na lang ng mga digital books. So isa yan sa mga pinupush namin sa Bookshare right now. We're reaching out sa mga publishers dito sa Philippines, especially those who publishes yung mga academic books natin. It better sana if they can share it to Bookshare so that they would be converted into accessible digital formats. At yung mga estudyante naman po natin na hindi nakakita, hindi sila mahihirapan to cope up. So, yan, sa ibang aspects din, sa employment scene. So, yung mga work tools na sinasabi ko kanina, if these work tools would become accessible, so dadami yung mga persons with disabilities na katulad ko na magkakaroon ng trabaho online. And ano pa ba? Sa healthcare system natin, kasi di ba nakakatakot ngayon pumunta sa mga hospital, sobrang nakakapraning. Ang dami-dami ng telemedicine platforms na ginagamit ngayon. Ito, totoong scenario to. Meron akong isang kakilala, kailangan niya magpa-consult sa psych. Siyempre, psych yun. So, very personal consult dapat yun. And I think kahit ano namang medical condition di ba? So, gusto niya sana, it's just between siya at yung doctor niya. Pero dahil sa inaccessibility ng platform, kailangan niyang magtawag ng mag-a-assist sa kanya maya't-maya, check kung nakakausap pa, okay pa ba yung line, mga ganyan. And
Medyo
many more, mga pag-order ng pagkain, banking system. So, sa lahat ng industry actually.
Parang na-realize ko lang recently when you mentioned these things, yun nga, parang accessibility especially during this time, it became more of a hindrance yung mga platforms natin.
Yeah.
Dahil it's not incorporated yung hindi na consider yung accessibility when they were designing that.
Yeah.
Ayun, parang na-realize ko din na, sige, go.
Yeah. No. Ako lang, natatawa na nga lang kami, may mga fellow advocates ko na parang it really took a pandemic muna, parang before the whole world really sees yung importance ng digital accessibility.
Yeah. Yung pangalan, yung maging digitally accessible di ba? Parang challenge na yung kaya maging digitally accessible. Na-realize ko din na, alam mo, parang I think one of the possible reasons why the jobs for those with disabilities are limited here in our countries because really, ano ba yung dinesign for them? Di ba? Parang what are the jobs na ini-enable sila or ini-include sila na pwede kayo dito? Nakakasala na yung mga ganong reality.
Yeah.
Sige. We have another question from YouTube. It's from Jason Lee. It says here, I have one. Apart from the lighthouse scoring, I think this is for the tools. Lighthouse scoring. What other main measures can we use for accessibility testing of the page? Okay, hindi siya tool. But ano yung measure siguro on what makes it accessible or papasa for you in your accessibility testing?
ito, very, very simple to, pero this works. Make sure na you develop a website using semantically correct HTML. So, mag-stick tayo sa mga basic, sa mga native HTML. I mean, kasi 'di ba, kung meron naman ng heading tags for the heading, so just use the heading tag. Kasi yun, mas nakakapag-communicate yung screen reader namin if ginagamitan sila ng mga tags na ganon. Or pag sa buttons naman, since meron namang available na button tag, gamitin na lang natin si button tag rather than using mga div, span. So, as simple as that, I'm telling you, malayo-layo ang mararating ng accessibility ng page na dinedevelop mo.
So, papasa Rhea. Sige, another question here from YouTube again, from Sharina Pabustan. Do we have standard references that we can use for accessibility testing?
Yes, good thing you asked. Yes, meron tayong ISO certified, yun talaga ang ginagamit internationally. We call it the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. So, actually, madali na, mag-google nyo yung buong document na yan. And if you are developers na, designers na kayo by profession, parang piece of cake na yun eh. Hindi siya rocket science, kumbaga. Yung mga guidelines na yun, konting, i-guide lang kayo. Like, for example, sa mga images, kailangan may alt text, mga ganun lang. Pero yeah, to answer the question, yung WCAG, yun talaga yung standard na ginagamit. Guideline.
Okay. Another follow-up question of Sharina. She said, she mentioned on the demo that she uses navigation keys. What are the basics or standard navigation keys we use in accessibility testing? There might be many.
You mean ikaw na magte-test using a screen reader? Ganun siguro, in that perspective?
Yeah, I think so. Kasi yun nga, para makapag-navigate.
Yeah. Tulad nga ng nabanggit ko kanina, kapag kasi your computer is running now with a screen reader like JAWS, so yung navigation experience medyo nag-iiba eh. So, tulad ng sinabi ko kanina, kung gusto naming mag-access ng mga buttons, we use letter B, as in button. So, kapag letter B ka, pupunta siya sa mga iba't ibang buttons within the page. Pag naman letter K, pupunta siya sa iba't ibang mga links. Pag letter R, pupunta siya sa iba't ibang regions. Pag letter H, pupunta siya sa iba't ibang headings. So, parang ganon.
I suppose this is dependent on the tool you're using, tama ba? Or it's standard across?
Supposedly across, ganun dapat.
Okay. Sige. Cool. I have other questions here. Job, let me know how much time we can still have for this. Baka abutin kami bukas. So I have here, are there any specific industries? Okay. Are there any specific industries where accessibility testing should have more importance than more than others? Parang dapat kung ikaw nandito ka sa industry nito, you need to make sure that there's always accessibility testing.
Ako honestly, walang very specific na industry sa akin kasi ako talaga, I really believe every industry should have accessibility and inclusion sa sistema nila, kumbaga. Especially now.
Thank you. And then, what would you suggest to designers who don't have experience in incorporating inclusive designs? Kasi, di ba, sometimes they're more into aesthetics, especially pang UI designers, more on aesthetics yung iniisip nila. But yung accessibility part, how can they incorporate that? Especially if they're beginning. Hala. Rhea? Yan, naputol na si Rhea. O, Job, ikaw na sumagot. You're on mute.
Sorry, time check lang. It's at 6:42, so we still have a good amount of time for more questions.
Okay, sige. We'll just wait for Rhea to reconnect. So if you guys have other questions, do send it over, whether you're on YouTube. We have Johnny helping us there. And we have from the Inclusive PH and QA's the New QA pages. Do send us your questions in the comments. That's how we were able to answer the questions earlier. It's really just enlightening. Although yun nga na-mention ko kanina kay Rhea, medyo nakakasad. Kasi di ba parang when she was answering this, yun nga, parang alam mo yun, parang because of how we think pala, it makes them limited. Alam mo yun, hindi lang siya sa limited kung saan sila makakapunta, but also even for schooling, even for work, di ba? Parang na-mention before ni Rhea sa atin na a lot of people with disabilities, especially for the sight, that they become masus, di ba? They do give massage services. And alam mo yun, parang just like Rhea, it's a realization right now that it doesn't have to limit them. Alam mo yun, parang if they can only be considered, if they can only be, if we can only have that inclusivity mindset, there could be better things for them. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, very, very insightful yung sinabi ni Rhea na yun. Also, parang ano siya eh, you almost don't know where to start eh, kasi parang some things are caused by bad designs or poor design decisions from the design team. And then yung iba naman parang operations problem siya, and then sometimes parang cycle na siya na parang three things. Yung operation problem, design problem, and then yung third is yung designers. Sometimes they feel that they don't know how to design with inclusion in mind. Yeah. Let me just reply to Rhea really quick kasi nasa chat siya.
Kung meron pang questions, ayan, si Doc sabi niya, meron po ba tayong kagaya ng 508 compliance dito sa Pilipinas? Sige, we'll wait when Rhea goes back online. Kasi yun, parang di ba, parang how come other countries, how come other industries, even, well, nasabi rin niya kanya, there's a company here in the Philippines, sa airlines, na they are following, yun nga, yung accessibility for airlines. Diba? Parang, actually, yung sinabi niyang accessibility for airlines, yung anong software or industry yung madalas niyang natetest for accessibility. Nagulat ako when she said airlines eh. Kasi parang hindi yun yung first thing in mind ko. But
Yeah.
it's good na they are able to incorporate that even sa law nila para mas maraming makapag-participate in making things accessible. Sana marinig din ng government natin in that yun nga, even tayo as in private practices, we also get to speak about it, and parang especially for QEs, yun nga, QAs, sabi ko ngayon na we represent users di ba? But really, itong accessibility, parang it has been put in the back burner for the longest time. We've been hearing about it, but it's not really considered in the things we do, especially kapag nade-delay na sa mga timelines and all. Parang next time na yan, ganyan. So,
Yeah.
it's really something that we should be acting on it. Hindi lang yung parang we have had knowledge parang from this webinar or meetup na yun. Let's put this into practice.
Yeah, kasi maganda yung sinabi ni Rhea na nasa law yung the right to information. So very important for businesses and government units to make all of their platforms and websites accessible. So it's actually, I'm really curious kung gaano ka-accessible yung yung mga websites ano ng government natin. Especially kasi yung PWD community yung pinaka magbe-benefit doon eh kasi of course especially the ones who have mobility issues or like Rhea totally blind so that they won't need assistance ng companion to go to mga government offices and then pipila ng mahaba and and ideally parang mas secure yung yung sa website na lang. Pero interesting din yung nasabi ni Rhea na because hindi accessible yung mga ibang websites or platforms. Yung binigay niyang example was for I think it was counseling. Parang she mentioned parang I think counseling siya with a psychologist ata. And then hindi sila makapag-video conference kasi I mean privately because of the website or the platform.
Ayan na si Rhea.
Ayan.
Yo, hello, welcome back.
Fine.
I think we have a question.
Yeah, from YouTube. Jason Lee mentioned, maybe I missed out earlier in the talk. How did Canva, well, I think this is for Job. How did Canva QE team spend the testing effort or invest in automation on accessibility versus basic product functional testing?
Bakit parang may insider information si Jason Lee?
Baka ano lang yan, screen name.
Let me just read the question again. Maybe, how did Canva QE team spend the testing effort or invest in automation on accessibility versus basic product functional testing? Okay, actually, mga ano na eh, more than a year na since our founders committed to making the product more accessible. So, unti-unti, ginagawa na siya ng improvements. Oh,
John
English
is saying
only.
that
Okay.
can only understand English and not Tagalog.
All right. So I think it was over a year ago that our founders committed to making Canva more accessible. So they've been doing audits to start with, auditing a lot of the different steps of creating designs, and but it's kind of related to what Rhea said that accessibility is not a bug to be fixed. It's really incorporating it into the whole project management, into the roadmap of the product or the startup. So what they did was they formed a team na talagang sorry. They formed a team for accessibility. So aside from audit, they've been trying to incorporate all of those features into Canva. So there, I'm not aware too much about the QE testing in Canva that's going on, but what's really great that the team is doing is that is the commitment to make Canva more accessible. So I think I'm not really supposed to reveal any confidential information, but it is something that's being incorporated into the product.
Okay, thanks. May nagbanig po ko. Ayan, I have other questions here for Rhea. Buti nakabag si Rhea. What would you suggest to designers, especially those beginning in in designing who don't have experience in incorporating inclusive designs?
Simple lang. Just like what we always say kami ng mga advocates, just dive in. There's no better way to learn than to really immerse yourself into it. Just like any other thing naman, you can learn it slowly. Marami naman ng resources ngayon, especially in the presence of the internet. You just do a little bit of reading and then it would definitely point you into the right direction. And for us here in the Philippines, yeah, people like me are already here, na ready to journey with you in case you would want to really sana incorporate accessibility in your in your systems.
Thank you. Parang yun nga, tama yung, you're right when you said just dive in kasi like anything, di ba? Any career, you really have to just do it and parang
Along the way,
there's no other way to do it but go through it.
Correct.
Right? And then I guess this is my last question. What would you recommend to people who recently lost one or two senses and are struggling to go back in the IT industry or any other industry or just go back to their previous work?
Honestly, for me, in that kind of situation, or in my case, to be specific, there's no such thing as going back. Because yun yung bitter pill to swallow. There's no turning back. The only thing that you can do is to start fresh, build a new life with what you have right now. We're living in an era na, technology is very powerful. So it's very easy na. Ang dami-dami ng tools that you can use to rebuild your life. Parang ako, who would have thought, a nursing student would become a IT person, di ba? So, yun.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I learned a lot, not just about accessibility testing, pero even yung courage ni Rhea, nakaka-inspire talaga. I actually have lots of takeaways from this. Thank you for joining us, Rhea.
Thank you.
I guess to share yung mga takeaways ko is yun nga, parang accessibility should be incorporated at the very start and all throughout SDLC. And then, yung huling sinabi mo kasi talaga nag-stick out sa akin, yung start fresh. Alam mo yun, parang like your journey, hindi siya, parang you were just brave enough to go through it. Parang from nursing to programming, totally different industry, very emotional and then very logical yung isa. And in an industry na visual pa din. Yung work sa IT, it requires visuals para makapag-navigate ka eh. Parang you even use that to your advantage and even I'm not sure when accessibility testing started, but it was never a hindrance for you and you even remote testing there's so many things na parang you've started on your own without holding back para lang makapag-proceed ka.
Oh, by God's grace and inborn kasi talaga akong stubborn, honestly. And I just use that pagiging stubborn to my advantage. I kept on looking for ways on how to transform yung mga trials ko into my own triumphs, kumbaga.
Galing.
Hindi lang siya naging accessibility talk, parang naging inspirational talk. Thank you so much. Yeah. How about you, Job? Anong mga takeaways mo?
Ako, yung takeaway ko, hindi to talaga specifically sinabi ni Rhea, pero when she mentioned yung mga good design and bad design, yung errors, yung dapat may asterisk and don't say things like press the green button, mga ganon. It made me realize yung importance talaga of copywriting for UX and software. We always hear yung accessibility for devs, for UX, for architecture, ganyan. Pero yun, I don't know if all product teams really have UX copywriters, but yeah, that's maybe something UX teams can consider more, or just even if they don't hire a UX copywriter, maybe they can just um, parang review their own work, or
Mhm.
peer review, or they can hire Rhea. Ganon. And then another takeaway is yung exclusion. Usually I just think of the PWD community as users, but it's really insightful when Rhea said na um, and you din Mitch pala, na yung jobs, a lot of people from the PWD community miss out on employment opportunities because of hindi na-include um, as users, like especially for work tools, ganun. So ang nangyayari, like Rhea mentioned, was um, may assistance again needed from another person, like a sighted person, but really possible naman talaga siya to be done independently. And then yung third takeaway ko is to just dive in. And this is something I always say then when I give talks about inclusive design, is that you don't need a master's degree to start.
Correct. Mhm.
You don't even need to take an online course kagad just to start. You can always make small changes and
Mm-mm.
incorporate more inclusive practices when you design or whatever field you're in. And I really believe that um, you know more than you think. Yung education that you got from university is enough for you to design with inclusion in mind. It's just a matter of talking to your customers, meaning talking to your customers from the PWD community, and just like
Yes.
um, just like the way marketing teams conduct market research, it's important to also, or even product designers, uh, they they have user interviews then. Parang ganun lang, and then you already know more than you think. So yun yung takeaways ko. But yeah, but for the interest of time, we have to end soon. I think there were some more questions, but maybe we can just forward them to Rhea.
Sure.
In
Rhea,
the
I think,
Facebook.
Yes, or connect with me sa
Sige,
yeah.
Korea, do you have something to promote for us, both in design and QE teams?
Hmm, wala naman in specific, but yun nga, I'm very open to have discussions sa mga interested, so we can, yeah, connect with me sa LinkedIn, sa Twitter, sa Facebook, and yeah, let's be friends and let's try to build a world na exclusion is no longer the norm. Papalitan na natin siya ng inclusion. Let's journey together. So, yan.
Thank you so much, Rhea. We learned a lot and would like to thank Job as well for doing this collab meetup with us. Siguro ako nang meron lang din akong short promotion, sorry. I would like to invite everyone to go to Testflix so that you can catch us. It's like a binge watch for all anything testing related. There will be 100 speakers on Lightning Talks. I'll be speaking along with James Back and Michael Bolton, to name a few. So I hope you guys will leverage on that. It's all free. Thank you. And do join us in QS and UQA community if you haven't. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Rhea.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Yeah, so I will include all of those links in the show notes and in Facebook and YouTube. So just join Inclusive PH Facebook group for those links, and head over to the Inclusive PH Facebook page and click on groups and also like the page. Yeah, so thank you so much, Mitch and Rhea. This was super insightful, and I hope we can do a part two sometime again. um yeah, but see you all like next month for the second episode. um yeah thank thank you so much for everyone who attended, and hi to all of my teammates in Canva who joined. Yeah, thank you so much, Mitch and Rhea.
Thank you. Stay safe, everyone. Good night. God bless.
Good
Bye-bye.
night. Bye.
Bye-bye.